This is my intro music. Welcome to the video. I hope you like it lots, so don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Now let's react.
Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to another Para-Anthropology episode. And we're still watching Dr. Kayn Conrad's Paranormal PhD Speedrun. And we're going to try to get through day 1 and day 2. I do have him sped up to time and a quarter, so. Now, I am going to do this very quickly. I am going to mention one more time our 3 principles. We got the principle of haunted legitimacy. We have the principle of experiential narrative sovereignty. We have the principle of charismatic moral authority. That's all I'm going to mention. Now, if you care to expand your brain, if for some reason this is the first video you're watching and you didn't watch the first one where I spent 20 minutes explaining these, go back to the first video and at least watch the first part so that you know what I'm talking about when we get into these, because I'm going to probably mention these, excuse me, throughout this video. Probably. We're just going to run with it. Anyway, all right. So we are going to pick up where we left off on day 1. If you haven't ever watched Dr. Kayn Conrad, of course, this video will be linked down below. He's a hoot. Hoot, hoot, hoot. And we are working with the IMHS Metaphysical Institute, where he is getting his he's getting his Metaphysical Ph.D., where I, too, am hoping to go and get my expanded degree in Para-Anthropology. And if you, too, would like to encourage me and enable me in my poor life decisions, I have a GoFundMe where you, too, can go and put your name on the list. And I will be more than happy to thank you in my videos when I start doing this myself. So go enable me. And there will be a link to the GoFundMe down below as well. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting this channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. Thank you to everybody who's already supported me on the GoFundMe. And yeah, let's just get into this. He is damn funny. We are not necessarily looking at Dr. Conrad and a critical light. Actually, we're pretty much on Dr. Conrad's side. He is a bit of a skeptic, a little bit. And we're pretty much just kind of building off of his observations. Why we are watching this video more than anything, keep in mind this is a 3 hour and 20 minute video. I keep picking people who like to make these like epic long videos, is because this is kind of the format that I want to do when I do my videos, because there will be 19 classes for my PhD, and Conrad managed to do 1 class a day for his, but he only had 10. So this is kind of more the format I want to do. And also I just think building on his observations about these classes and about what he learns about the IMHS is important to the overall story going forward. I hope that all made sense and it wasn't just me rambling. Paranormal 101.
First day of school. I woke up exhausted as per usual, but exhilarated, which was not, and I had most of a plan for how I was going to do this. Here's my strategy for this little piece of journalism. I'm taking you through this with me, degree by degree, day by day. I learn, so do you. That's the...
I wonder if, like, Kayn Conrad actually has a degree in journalism, because that would be interesting, or has, some formal schooling in journalism. I actually don't know too much about Kayn Conrad, who has a huge YouTube channel, by the way. And I haven't watched too much of Kayn Conrad's stuff. Dr. Kayn Conrad. I haven't watched too much of their stuff. Actually, I haven't watched any of it. This is pretty much all I've watched, because I wanted to just kind of keep this in my head. And I do plan to watch more of it, but I wanted to get this memorized first, because I don't know. I just wanted this to be like my only exposure to him. I know.
The deal. To keep this video cleaner than the syllabus, I'm going to assign each subject to a day, even though sometimes I'll be doing more than 1 or it'll stretch between 2. But the length of time I spend on it altogether, totally accurate. And I'm getting it all on film. Every cursed minute of this PhD grind, from blank page to burnout. And as of right now, all the episodes are available to members on my Patreon and YouTube community. Check it out.
If you hear weird noises in the background, they are working on our hot water. which we still don't have. So if you hear weird grinding noises or banging noises, we don't have hot water. So hopefully these noises are them giving us hot water again. That being said, I was thinking about setting up a Patreon for the Para-Anthropology stuff, not so that I could raise more money over on the Patreon, but because I could put up less edited, if that makes sense, videos over there and just less curated, I guess, blog posts and stuff up over there. Things that YouTube might find objectionable. I don't know. YouTube's been really weird and getting weirder over the last 9 to 10 months, I want to say. And there may or may not be things there may or may not, I don't know, be things in the para-anthropology stuff or the, paranormal archaeology things that I would like to expand out into that YouTube might find objectionable. I don't know. And it just feels like I need to find a safer place to put stuff. And Patreon seems to be safer for what I want to do, because I don't really want to do like any kind of like adult stuff. So I don't have to worry about that. But there doesn't need to be like, I'm pretty sure he does have membership tiers over there. I didn't go and look, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. Just kind of as a vault kind of a thing, something where there is access for people, but you don't have to have paying tiers on Patreon. You can have things be public over there so people can have access to it without having to pay. And I was thinking maybe that might be a nice thing to do for, just prosperity. There we go.
Sort of thing. If we're done with the foreplay, I'd really like to get to the payoff. So let's crack open a nice cold textbook and get started, because I, for one, am beyond ready for Paranormal 101.
I want a student card. He printed it all off.
I scrolled through the website, which appeared to have been created around the time of the Great Flood, and tried to get used to the interface. Clicked around, found where I'd look up my grades, saw a long list of the previous graduates and what their doctorates were in. I was going to be on that list in less than 10 days. It wasn't a prestigious position, of course, but the idea definitely tickled my humors a bit. I just opened up the first course, and I don't know about any of the bachelor's courses you all took, but I'm going to assume it's standard for the introductory course to insist upon itself that it's entirely on the up and up and ends in a very real degree. Super legit. Cap and gown at the end and everything.
No.
If you buy them yourself.
If you buy them yourself.
Maybe I'm wrong about the average bachelor's program, but what I can say is that this course absolutely started that way. And if it wasn't clear, 95% of the coursework is written by the headmaster, Dumbledug himself.
Now, Dumbledug. I wonder if I can dig it. I don't have my gown anymore. But I'm pretty sure I've got my cap. I wonder if I can get a new tassel. I wonder if I can get like a red and blue tassel. I'm pretty sure you can. That'd be kind of fun. Get a red and blue tassel with a 2026 with 26 hanging off of it. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. Just get I could just get a tassel and just use it on my old gown or on my old cap. That'd be kind of fun, you guys. Come on. Surely to God, you can find a place that'll make tassels.
I don't want to bore you with lots of random text on the screen, and I'd like to avoid copyright harassment, so I made a puppet to read out any tiny and extremely fair use snippets from the course, like the following, where Dr. Douglas discusses how incredibly real the real degrees he really offers really are.
I'm not gonna lie. I really like this, but I think what I might end up doing, because I can't do any of this really, I just don't have the setup for this kind of a thing. But what I do have is a clip art cat, and I promise I won't make it dance around the screen. I know there's a good chunk of you that hate that. Even though a good chunk of you do like it, there's a big chunk of you that don't like it. But what I think I could do, either that or I could have the mic read it for you, is have the cat read it for you. Because it would be funny.
This degree program is not meant to be a cakewalk. It is meant to challenge you as a professional and as a human being. It is a big step up from traditional paranormal certification programs, because just about anyone can take and pass those.
Well, I'm just about anyone, always have been. And I would be pretty upset if it turned out I paid this much money to enter a silly little cakewalk. So let's see how it goes. And don't mind the wizard outfit. I was a bit faded last night when I went full Geppetto.
Many students are excited to begin their IMHS studies and share that excitement with family and friends, only to be marginalized and denigrated by comments such as, "That's not a real doctoral degree," or similar. Nothing could be further from the truth.
I've had a lot of introductory courses. I can't recall ever having one. I'm really excited to get into an introductory course and see what it's like.
He breaks it up like this. There are secular and non-secular degrees, and while different, they're both equally valid and should not be compared, even though that's comparing them. He asks me, which is better?
An apple or an orange?
An orange. Well, okay, hang on. What kind of apple? And what kind of orange?
A car or a pickup truck?
Again, what kind of car? What kind of pickup truck? Because if we're talking like the Tesla truck, I'd rather have anything else.
A train or a plane?
Train.
The truth is, they are neither better nor worse. They are just different and used for different purposes.
That's fair.
Number 1, apple, car, train. Number 2, keep an eye out for the worrying undercurrent of disdain that runs through this coursework when it comes to science, skepticism, and academics.
So, way back in the first video, we were talking about experiential... No, not that one. We were talking about the principle of charismatic moral authority. Got my own principles mixed up. And Kayn just talked about keep an eye out for the worrying undercurrent of disdain that runs through the coursework when it comes to science, skepticism, and academics. So that goes back to the principle of charismatic moral authority, where challenging the leader in any way via skepticism and academics is viewed as a moral failing, right? I'm not saying, and I don't want people to walk away thinking that that's what I'm saying here, that Dr. Kelly is a cult leader or anything like that. And I don't want people to read that into this. Please do not. Because I realize that you could very easily do that. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But he is the charismatic leader here, right? And he is trying to establish authority or at least legitimacy for his degree program here. And the problem is you can easily challenge this degree program with a lot of things in a lot of different ways. And as we get more into it and Conrad explains more of the classes and goes over more of the classes, you will very easily, most of you will very easily be able to rationally pick out reasons why people might have problems accepting the legitimacy of this program. So, and you could work in the principle of experiential narrative sovereignty into here, especially when it comes to the rejection of science here and the rejection of academics, because Douglas does accept metaphysical experiences and intuition and non-data-driven sources as legitimate and even more important than factual scientific sources. And that does work into our second principle here, because those things support the conclusions that Douglas wants to draw, i.e. aliens, alien abduction, ghosts, Bigfoot, that kind of a thing. And that does feed into the charismatic moral authority, because to challenge those and to point out that, hey, this isn't working. This isn't what, you're only accepting evidence that supports what you want to be true. You're not accepting evidence that proves you wrong. Now you're attacking him, and that is morally incorrect in this situation, right? So, again, am I rambling?
This coursework when it comes to science, skepticism, and academics. It's going to come up later. A lot. In my opinion, Douglas seems to have a bit of a grudge against people with, let's say, non-secular PhDs.
This is something that is very common when it comes to any kind of pseudoscience, though. I encountered it a lot when I was working against pseudoarchaeology. Graham Hancock hates people, absolutely hates anyone who has formal education in anything that challenges his opinions. He just can't stand it. And especially if you're female. Graham Hancock does not like educated women, especially if they don't agree with him. Anyway, but that's pretty common, actually, because what happens is, and this kind of goes back to the identity, the attacking of the identity thing. Their identity becomes, I'm the guy that says aliens are real. I'm the guy that says, metaphysical experiences are legit, kind of a thing. And when you start questioning, hey, your data's not right, or hey, you don't actually have evidence for that, or hey, the evidence that you claim that you have either isn't actually evidence for what you're claiming or doesn't support the claims that you're making, you're not actually attacking them. You're attacking the evidence, or you're attacking the claim or whatever, but they take it as a personal attack because that's what they've wrapped their identity around, right? And so they take it as a personal attack, which in turn makes them take you as attacking them, right? So it's pretty common for people who are into alternative or pseudo claims to have a personal disdain or dislike for people who have a mainstream or formal education in a field that can challenge those claims. Normally because they really can't argue against actual science or actual data, because their claims don't hold up when exposed to actual factual data or science. And it's never really an attack, mostly, on them as individuals. Mostly. It's usually an attack on the claim or what they're trying to pass as evidence.
Having an academic PhD is not a guarantee of intelligence, common sense, or even scientific prowess.
You had me until the scientific prowess. The thing with scientific prowess is there are legitimate reasons why you can't do science without certain levels of education. And it's not because you're not intelligent. It's because you don't have a skill set. I can't do brickwork because I've never been taught how to do masonry. I'm not stupid. I'm not incapable of learning. I just don't know how to do it. So I can't walk into a masonry shop and be like, I'm going to build a brick wall, because I don't even know where to start. It's kind of like that. So yeah, not having a formal PhD doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It doesn't mean you're not capable of learning. It doesn't mean you're not just as smart and intelligent as I am. But it does mean that you're probably not capable of doing scientific things. You don't have the same scientific prowess that I do. And that's not an insult. That just means you don't have the same education as I do. That's all that's saying, right? You too can go to school and learn the same shit I learned and have a real of a time sitting through the same fucking classes I sat through. Knock yourself out. I'm nothing stopping you other than the money and the time and access, probably, for a lot of people. But that's kind of the point. Really, it's your intellect. Your intellect is not the barrier, right? The barrier is society and money.
It simply means they jump through the often outlandish hoops required by the sometimes snooty academic community.
Not really. I mean, I won't say that there isn't gatekeeping within the academic community, because there is, but not the way he's claiming.
He's right about one thing, he goes on to say. He insists that worrying too much about what the critics say, that'll tie your hands behind your back when you're trying to sharpen your craft. But something about this doesn't sit right in my chest. The way it painted friends and family, the concerned types who just want to know if this paranormal PhD has any meat on its bones, it treated them like a problem to be ignored. The unreasonable people who are marginalizing and denigrating these students by voicing concerns. And then that's compounded by the wholly unnecessary and unprofessional sweet nothings the professor writes, describing how rare and special the student is.
You, however, are among the comparatively few who are not satisfied with simply eking out a day-to-day existence and ignoring the great wonder and awe that is all around us.
Oof. I'm not saying it's a cult, because it's not a cult at all. I know cults. I joined one last year.
I like that. I know cults. I joined one last year.
This ain't that. I truly believe Dr. Douglas has good intentions. He just doesn't strike me as the type looking to reel in lost souls or build an army of glassy-eyed disciples. But good intentions don't always pave the cleanest roads, and I can't shake the feeling that, whether he means to or not, he's drawing lines in the sand. Folks who raise a brow with this so-called degree, they get cast as the enemy, the doubters, the ones who just don't get it. Suddenly, loved ones turn into villains, and concern gets dressed up as prejudice. I won't say that it's manipulation, but it sure as hell walks right up to the edge of it. The course...
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't... Come on, buddy. You're going to fall. Oh. Hi, everybody. I won't quit licking my hair off of myself, so I have to wear a cone. Drawing lines in the sand. Us versus them theory. That goes to the Charismatic Moral Authority. Whether Dr. Kelly, is intending to do it or not, it does create that separation, but it also creates it creates a community or a community mindset because, like, we are special, right? You and I, we're in on it. We know what's going on. They don't know, right? It doesn't necessarily make them the enemy. It just puts them as the outside other, right? Oh, poor pitiful them. They don't know, but we know. We know what's going on, right? And it's not uncommon. I mean, most social groups do that. But when you get into like an extreme, when you get into the extremes of it, that's when it starts becoming an issue.
This wants me to do a little introspection here. If I'm going to focus on doing what I want to do, I should probably know why I want to do it. Study metaphysics, the paranormal, or like aliens. And it asked me that outright. And I have an answer for that. It's the kind of genuine answer that feels a little disingenuous. But let's lay it out there. Yes, I wanted the scoop, the story. Hell, I wanted the title. But that's not all of it. I truly would love to live in the world of the supernatural. See, I want to believe. Not in politicians or fairy tales, but in something bigger. A world where the dead aren't just cold memories, but are waiting on the other side. So close that if you just listen hard enough, you can still hear them. I want that more than I care to admit. I'd trade a hell of a lot to know that the ones I lost are still out there, somewhere, waiting for me. Only problem is, I can't quite sell myself the lie. I never could. I was raised with Sunday sermons and polished promises, souls, heaven, hell, but none of it ever stuck. Still, if there was even a sliver of a shot that this metaphysics racket could crack open my skull and pour in some cosmic insight, well, that'd be worth the ticket price. Real magic? I'd bleed for that. Who wouldn't? There's a reason I spent my teenage years dancing under the moon, calling myself Wiccan or a witch. I guess things have kind of come full circle, but it's more than that. Why am I really digging into metaphysics? Simple. You can't fight what you don't understand, and you cannot help people get out of pseudoscientific ideologies unless you understand both their motivations and the ideologies themselves.
Yes. This is something that I would come up against a lot when I was doing a lot of the pseudo-archaeology debunking that I used to do. It is really easy to be angry at people, and it is really easy to dismiss people, and it is really easy to just laugh at people and laugh people off. But what's not easy is trying to figure out why people believe the things that they believe. And that is really important because going back to the attacking people's identities, if you start attacking people's identities, they shut down because they don't want their identity attacked. So you have to figure out why they believe the thing they believe so that you can better navigate why and where it's coming from. If you can figure that out, you might be able to correct the misconception, right? Because some of these things are actually harmful. I mean, yeah, aliens, that's pretty funny. You know, a good chunk of our administration believes in aliens. So that's kind of the problem. It's all fun and games until you realize people are making decisions based on this shit. And it leads to bigger problems because belief in that kind of stuff colors and influences beliefs in other things. All right. So, yeah, it's funny until you realize the damage it's doing down the line. Anyway, but as Conrad was saying, understanding why people believe what they believe and the motivations behind those beliefs allow you to better combat it, basically, and to better correct the misconception. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, but at least you understand why. So when you come up against it, you can be like, okay, wait, this is the one thing that doing X, Y, and Z with isn't going to work with. You know, sometimes, yeah, sarcasm is pretty much the only way you can deal with it, but a lot of times it's not. So, you know, that's a really good point.
And one of the reasons I find metaphysical claims so necessary to know how to combat is that historically they've been used to prey on the vulnerable.
I would tell her that I love her and I miss her.
A tearful plea from the mother of a missing teen. But when the case made national news, the Houston parents say they became inundated with calls from so-called psychic detectives. They say some even showed up at their front door.
This is interesting here because this apparently is like, or this appears to be Conrad's like big passion project. And I think that's actually really fascinating. And I applaud him.
Promising their psychic visions could help bring Allie home.
He guaranteed me that he'd find Allie in 3 days.
It's a dirty little world out there, and she sure as hell ain't getting any cleaner. And I've seen enough to know one thing for sure. Metaphysical claims aren't always just harmless talk over a candlelit table full of cards. It's not always just your eccentric Aunt Tabitha rambling on about what the lines on your palm mean or drawing up your birth chart. And it's not always just innocent Silver Ravenwolf instructing impressionable teenagers to practice witchcraft and see.
Good old Silver Ravenwolf. All right. Put a raven in the comment section down below, or a blackbird. I think there's a blackbird. Put a blackbird down in the comment section down below if you had a Silver Raven Wolf book when you were a kid. Don't lie.
Secret and lie to their parents. No, unlike that, it's often dangerous, predatory. I've watched a grieving mother get fed lies by some 2-bit mystic, told her missing kid was gone, murdered even, while that child was still out there, alive, scared, waiting for someone to give a damn and come looking. I've seen faith healers do their dance, swearing the cancer's gone, just gone, all while the clock ticks and the tumor keeps ticking too, chewing through flesh, bone, time, and whatever hope's left. See, that's the heart of it. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there's a whole market in pain and business is booming. People are exploiting the vulnerable to line their own pockets, cashing in on lives that aren't theirs to sell. And every time there's a reason, there's always a reason, an excuse, a justification, and this particular situation is no different.
Bear in mind that it is moral and ethical for you to benefit from your hard work provided you don't harm others. Unlike many religious traditions, metaphysics is not about endless self-sacrifice without seeing any hard and fast benefits. Everything we do must be win-win.
Now, this is probably true for Douglas, but he's no fool. He must know that sometimes the game is being played dirty, knows that there are bad apples rolling around the orchard.
I will concede that there are some in the metaphysical community whose beliefs are far out on the fringe and hang precariously suspended on pure speculation where the slightest poke brings them crashing down. This is why it is imperative that the metaphysical beliefs you choose are grounded in some type of rational thought.
That gets tricky, though.
Early on, the course states that science, by way of objectivity, has become close-minded to new possibilities, that it's become the very thing it never wanted to be.
I love when people come at me with that one. You're so close-minded. Because I want evidence? Okay.
Narrow-minded. And how true. When I used to work with this girl named Science, I found her very close-minded. She was not open to the reviews of her peers, and she certainly would never change her opinion based on new information.
Science is quick to discredit the mind's demonstrable ability for psychic phenomena, while at the same time theorizing and inferring that some unseeable, undetectable, unmeasurable, and atomless stuff known as dark matter and dark energy exists, making up an astounding 95% of the universe.
Dude, don't come at me with theoretical shit. It's called theory for a reason.
Citation: Wikipedia, dark matter.
Look, okay. Wikipedia has a time and a place. I am all for starting with Wikipedia if you need to. Wikipedia has a section at the bottom where usually there's the sources that were cited throughout the Wikipedia article. That's probably where you should go. Don't cite Wikipedia.
Sometimes what science accepts has more to do with what is currently fashionable than what may or may not make rational sense.
The mind's demonstrable ability for psychic phenomena.
Do, 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 do.
Wouldn't mind seeing that demonstration myself. Sounds unbelievable.
And it is. There are very many moments throughout this course where the professor references compelling evidence for the paranormal. There are extremely few where he even attempts to provide any. But I'll give you an example of his version of compelling evidence. Remember September 11th?
No. Sorry. Sarcasm. Got me. Sorry.
Of course you remember September 11th. We never forget. Well, in the expert opinion of the professor, something unbelievable happened that day. And I'm not just talking about the twins taking the dive. Enter Dr. Roger D. Nelson, director of the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton University. Roger had set up machines all around the world which generated random numbers and fed them back to a computer at Princeton. Roger hypothesized he could prove that all of humanity's minds were linked by showing that at times of mass emotion, the numbers would become less random.
I don't understand this. But I don't do this kind of science.
Imagine it this way. You program machines all around the world to flip a coin. 5 out of 10 times, it's heads. 5 out of 10 times, it's tails, roughly. And this happens day in, day out, until one day, all around the world, it doesn't. Something changes. And that day is September 11th, 2001. Pretty spooky stuff, right? I even thought about having goosebumps while investigating it. That is, until I found out that this anomalous event actually started 4 to 5 hours before a single plane had hit, and there was nothing for anyone to be psychically reacting to. Also, if you were to do a smidge of research, you'll find that Roger himself has said that the data is not solid enough for global consciousness to be said to exist at all. It's not possible, for example, to look at the data and predict with any accuracy what the machines may be responding to. But even more damningly, these machines failed to go off for plenty of other catastrophic events. Run these machines long enough, and eventually it was bound to go off at some point on the day of something of note.
And the audacity of us to think that we're the only country that's tragedy is significant enough for the entire world to have a reaction to it. Not downplaying it, don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of like other horrible things happen in other countries and the rest of the world is just supposed to not care. It's kind of an audacious. It's kind of an arrogant statement.
But none of this seems to worry Douglas, who says that
This research offers compelling evidence that we as a global human family.
The guy conducting the research said it wasn't what you're saying it is. I always love when they do that, though. It's they'll find something, and even the researchers are like, "Yeah, but it's not that," and the pseudo people will be like, "Yeah, but it totally is," and the researchers are like, "Nah, it's really not, though."
A global consciousness are connected in ways that we may have not been aware of up until now. This research appears to scientifically confirm what many of the ancient mystics have said, namely, our thoughts have an effect on reality.
Wow, I've never heard of that before. That's unbelievable. Not to the professor, though, who really seems to believe that the human mind is nearly all-powerful.
Now, Dr. Doug says belief is the most powerful force in the universe. And to back that up, he tells a tale about a man named Morris E. Goodman. Folks called him the Miracle Man, and not for nothing. One day, Morris took his plane up into the sky and brought it down in a heap of twisted metal. When the smoke cleared, he wasn't walking away. Hell, he wasn't even breathing on his own. The crash had left him paralyzed, communicating only through blinks. As Douglas tells it, the doctors told Morris he would be like this forever. But they underestimated
the incredible power of Morris's human spirit. You see, Morris also had his mind. Communicating by blinking his eyes, he told his doctors that he would walk out of the hospital by Christmas. Sure enough, 8 months later, he did just that.
Impressive, to be sure, and I'm glad Morris was able to regain his autonomy. We all deserve that, at the very least, despite what many people in powerful places would have you believe.
Thing is, Douglas spun the tale like he was Rumpelstiltskin spinning gold out of hay. Spoilers, it's mind over matter. He tells it as if Morris pulled himself out of that chair by sheer force of will alone, like it was some kind of medical miracle. But I've been around long enough to know, medical miracles usually come with a scalpel and a stack of medical bills. So I looked into it. And it seems that even a tough guy like him needed a little help from the white coats. The docs pulled off a high-stakes operation that gave him a fighting chance. Then came the long haul, months and months of grinding physio. Yeah, Morris had the heart, mostly because the doctors were able to find a match. But science and the support of several medical teams were...
So he had to have a heart transplant. Did he walk out with any of his original organs? Seriously, though, that's a hell of a thing.
His partners in that comeback. And there's something sinister behind this happy ending being turned into a tale of the power of the mind. Because what about the folks who never walk again? What's Douglas implying about them? That they didn't want it badly enough? That their spirit just didn't measure up? No, I don't buy it. So
I have a problem with that kind of a twist, honestly, because like it's easy to make a statement like that be ugly because it does kind of imply that, but I don't ever feel like that's the intention behind that kind of a statement. Like, Douglas walked out of there, or whatever his name is. Morris walked out of there because, his mind bullets, raised him up and he walked out on his own volition. Most of the time people are just trying to be like, oh yeah, this dude was such a badass. I understand that the reverse of that is everybody else who was exactly like him and didn't get up and walk away obviously must have been the exact opposite. I mean, it's not necessarily saying that. So I always have a problem with people who do that because it's not saying that. It's just saying that this one person is kind of admirable. Now, is that really what happened? No. Obviously, Morris clearly had quite a bit of help. I think his name was Morris. I'm not backing up to find out. So, like, it's not a true story. That's not what really happened anyway. But it's not implying that everyone else who was in the same situation was somehow lesser, right? And I don't like when people twist it like that because it's kind of ugly. And I don't like it. I don't know. Am I the only one who's like that? It would be different if you were like, Morris got himself up and walked away. What's wrong with you? Then you're implying that dude is somehow not as cool as Morris. But if you're just saying Morris had the mental fortitude to will himself to walk again, you're just talking about Morris. I don't know. It's just me, maybe.
sometimes the cards are just dealt crooked. No matter how hard you play the game, you lose. Douglas goes on for a while about what metaphysics is or isn't, what this degree program is or isn't, and how valid both metaphysics and the degree program are. It makes up the bulk of the intro to the program, and I will not bore you with the details. I won't drag you through the intellectual swamp. You came
I want to go through the swamp. I've got my mucks. I'll go put my waders on. Come on.
here for the ghosts, the aliens, maybe a giant squirrel home invader or two. So let's cut to the chase. If you're itching for every dry morsel of academic preamble, you'll find it tucked away on my Patreon or behind the velvet rope for YouTube members.
I was even thinking about maybe doing like study with me lives. I don't know. You guys let me know if you want. I don't know how in depth I want to do this because it could take a lot of time. And I don't know like how much of this you guys really want. Like, do you want every bloody moment of it, or are you okay with cut downs? You know, do you really want me to do like a live of me going through the class as much as I'm allowed to with copyright? I don't want to like violate anything, you know, but you know, I could do like a study with me at one point.
The course is coming to a close, and Douglas lays out 9 commandments of his own to increase the vibrational level of humanity. A sentence that makes complete sense and isn't something a cult leader would also definitely say.
Look, I'm not saying Douglas is a cult leader. We're not going to say that in this. We're not saying that. We're not putting it out there. We're pulling that vibrational string back.
He claims that these principles comprise about the healthiest spiritual philosophy on the planet and will enhance anyone's life and relationships. Which, bold claim. The rules are simple. See, real black and white stuff in a world that usually preferred gray. Do good. Don't do bad. We make the mess, us humans, and we damn well better clean it up, starting with yourself.
I was beginning to worry that Dr. Douglas R. Kelly was like a wizard Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, but without the blood-stained mouth from chewing on raw shank.
I honestly don't know that much about Peterson. I know we're not supposed to like him for some reason, and that's pretty much it.
Probably.
The point of these 9 principles seems to be for humanity to get back to a place where we are able to connect to our higher selves, the place where moments of clarity and epiphanies come from, that feeling in our gut that tells us something we ought not to know. Now, personally, I really don't like it when it sounds like someone is telling me to trust my gut. My gut? Really? That thing is full of literal shit.
I just went to the bathroom, so.
But I'll follow his lead on this and try to connect to it. bridge my higher consciousness to my lizard brain. And luckily, he's got just the exercise for that.
In order to develop a better connection to your higher self, you must think of it as a very real part of who you are.
Ooh, is this where I get to like disassociate myself from my body? My body?
A part of your very own consciousness. Let me share a visualization. I call it my soul light visualization.
Ooh.
I have no beef with meditation or taking 5 to breathe like you mean it, so
I cannot meditate. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm physically incapable.
when the invitation came, I didn't balk. I was game. His instructions were as follows. Get comfy. Shut your stupid little eyes. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Picture a glowing sphere above your head. No, not the sun, a different glowing sphere. Now, see its tentacles, which it has for some reason, stretch out in all directions and pull in energy and pour it into you. Take it in you, take it so that it fills you up, let you fill with it, and then let it flow through you into the ground. So I did. And, well, I definitely felt calmer.
I feel violated.
It was nice, though, this breathing, this stillness, with or without the cosmic
Why is
nonsense
this a
of soul
genre?
tentacles siphoning stardust and divine juice from the void. I'd almost made it through the first day and the first course, and now all that was left was to do the final exam, which felt a little quick. If this was one of a handful of courses and I'd done it in a day, I was either a genius or the courses were a bit of a cakewalk. And I didn't enroll in wizard school for the cake.
Could we get wizard cake? We could do wizard cake. I bet Ozzy has a recipe for wizard cake.
And I most certainly didn't enroll for any walking. Douglas had made it extremely apparent that the exams were all open book and was nice enough to tell people how to use the find function in a PDF. I guess he wasn't the kind of guy who cared if you remembered what he said, just that you remembered where to find it.
Look, okay, let me put it this way. One of the best skills you can develop in life is how to research and find shit. Memorizing things is cool. It's a neat trick. Don't get me wrong. It might serve you well at some point, but honestly, finding crap is way more important than remembering crap.
This exam is underwhelming. We have questions like, a metaphysical degree is a real degree, true or false?
False. Wait, sorry, true.
I'm answering with his taste in mind, not mine, and not science's. I think this is the first time I've noticed that the professor, he has a sense of humor, one that toes the line between satire and malpractice. It's edgy, but I like that. Hell, I respect it.
Diversity among humanity is select one. An evolutionary mistake, not the way God intended it. An evolutionary constant, only valid among heterosexuals.
Looks like Douglas enjoys a shitpost as much as the next shit wizard. I like that. 2, nobody's surprised. I aced the damn thing, perfect score, completed the course with honors, in hours, just how I am. You know that if you'd seen the movie based on my life, with honors in hours. I was starting to suspect that this gig was going to be a breeze.
With honors in
I probably
hours.
wouldn't even need the full 10 days. Like the big guy upstairs carving out the world, I figured I'd earn myself a little bit of time at the end just to kick back and admire the mess I just made. I had sunk 5 hours into the first day at the Institute for the Paranormal, and I needed a little time to center myself in this reality. I tried to disconnect for the night. I swear I did. But the professor's words kept reverberating through my skull. No matter how hard I tried.
What are you drinking that's blue? Is that pea tea? Is that pea flower tea? Do you feel, does it make all your pain go away?
I just couldn't shake them.
Many students share that excitement with family and friends, only to be marginalized and denigrated by comments such as, "That's not a real doctoral degree."
How does he light his windows? Like, does he have literal spotlights outside his apartment so that his windows are lit? That's crazy. If that's really what he's doing, that's nuts. I love it, but that's nuts. I mean, maybe he's just fortunate that he's like, or not so fortunate, that he lives in a city where the light just comes in through his windows, but that's nuts.
It stuck with me. I couldn't help but wonder how many dinners had gone cold.
Oh, I guess it's not blue. I guess it's wine. Never mind.
How many calls went unanswered? How many lives have been affected by the idea that challenging the validity of his institute was victimization? If you hadn't noticed, I tend to get a little fixated while working a case. It's a dirty little trick my mind plays when you're knee-deep in something that don't make sense.
My cat left me, in case you're wondering.
You latch on, obsess. Well, I do. So I caved. I always do. Willpower's never been my strong suit. I couldn't disconnect. So that night, it was just me and Douglas again, his voice crackling through the radio like a ghost who refused to just stay dead. I let him talk me to sleep, as long as it took. And as the hours passed, I found myself wide awake, poking holes in his logic, just as often as I found myself nodding along with it. I was surprised.
When I started this, I didn't know what I was walking into. Maybe I expected nothing. Maybe I was hoping for something more. I don't know. But whatever it was I thought I'd find, sure as hell wasn't this.
All right, we're on day 2. I think we're doing pretty good on time. This will be a little bit longer than an hour. Some of these days are maybe shorter than others. Maybe I can do these at 2.5 speed or time and a half. I talk a lot. That's the problem. All right, anyway, we're at the end of day 1. Let's see. If you've made it this far, go ahead and put a apple. Sure. An apple or an orange down in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think going on. I asked a lot of questions to you guys in here as we went, so I don't really think I have anything else to wrap up with here. But this was kind of the introductory course. You can kind of see how this is set up and how this is going to go from here on out. It is kind of fun listening to Conrad think his way through these things. And the courses do get a little weirder as we get into it. And there are a couple points going forward where Conrad has like a crisis. It's not like, full meltdown crisis. He has a seance at one point, which is actually pretty damn funny. But let me know what you guys are thinking about this going forward. And that's all I've got for you guys. So yeah, your emoji is either an apple or an orange. Answer the questions in the video. That'll show me that you're paying attention. And thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. Thank you to everybody who's supporting me on the GoFundMe fundraiser. I'll have a link to this down below. And that's all I've got for you guys. So I will see everybody in the next one. Bye.
This is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.